Welcome to Detroit. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass. You can drown them. And that's what we gotta be. That's who we have to be. Because that's our domain. That is our domain. Because we'll tread water as long as it takes to fucking bury you.
Takes the snap, turns, gives to Montgomery, right side, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions! Yes.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends, fans, and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. So, folks, we all know that we've got a very, very tough defense that we're going to be playing against when we play against the Cleveland Browns this Sunday at Ford Field. Everybody's talked about it. Everybody has referred to it. Everybody knows that this defense is largely considered the best defense in the NFL. And it's a defense that, for the most part, has been able to hold teams in check relatively well. Was able to hold, the Bengals and Joe Burrow before they lost him to 17 points. Held Jordan Love and the Packers to 10 points. This is a defense that is remarkably well suited to stopping opposing offenses in a number of ways. And I know for a lot of Lions fans, they've already heard what Dan Campbell has heard about, they've already heard what Dan Campbell has said about the Browns defense, about how it's a really structurally sound defense, it's a really good defense, aggressive, it's very physical. It's a defense that is very hard to try and get points against. But I'm going to tell you this right now. While I do believe that Dan Campbell is not lying, I do believe that Dan Campbell is telling the truth, that this is a very aggressive, very physically tough, demanding defense, and it is going to be hard to try and, score points against it. I believe that part of that is being said from the aspect of, okay, that's if we don't do our jobs. That's if we don't do things the correct way. That is if we don't stick true to what we do. And the best way I can look at this game is that if the Lions are going to have any success against the Browns defense, they are going to have to do two things. The first thing that they're going to have to do is they have to remain true to who they are, even when things are not going their way. But the second thing that they're going to have to do is they're going to have to be willing to look at what other people have done and take that and use that as part of what their offensive strategy is and fit that within what their offense can do. That's why I'm saying in this episode that the Lions do have a bit of a cheat sheet when it comes to this Browns defense. And I'm going to say this right now. The best way to beat this defense is actually a relatively simple concept. And the best way to do it is by doing what the Lions do best. Now, some people are going like, well, David, you kind of sound like you're talking in circles here. What exactly do you mean? Well, let's understand something. What do the Lions do best offensively? Well, what they do best offensively, and rather I would just say what they do best, in general, is they're flexible. They do not get pigeonholed into doing one thing or another any specific way. They are going to be able to say, hey, if the offense of a team is doing this, we're going to do that to counter. If the defense does this, we're going to do this offensively to counter that. And if they change it up, we're going to change it up too. This is something that the Lions have learned over the last couple of years of saying, hey, we're not just going to stick with what one particular game plan we have. We're going to go with what the opponent is giving us, whether it is the defense or the offense. Hey, if the offense is going to try and do this, we're going to adjust, we're going to change it up so then that way we can counter that. And the same thing goes on defense. And I believe that that is something that the Lions are going to be able to do rather well against the Browns defense in this game, since we're talking about the defense here for the Browns, because that is the main problem that the Browns are presenting to the Lions, is how ridiculously, monstrously good their defense is. Nobody's necessarily worried about their offense as much, but their defense is where there's a big problem. And I believe that the Lions are going to be able to do that, and they're going to be able to make the adjustments that are necessary wherever and whenever during the game. Now, what exactly do I think is the simple portion about the Lions' cheat sheet, if you will, when it comes to this upcoming game against the Browns? Here's why I say it's simple. The best way to understand this is you have to understand what the Browns defense has done ridiculously well over the last 3 games. As far as the defense is concerned, what have they done really well? What they've done really well is they've taken away the run game. The Browns have the best rush defense in the entirety of the NFL, and it's not even close. If I recall correctly, they're number 1 in rush yards given up. They're number 1 in rushing average given up. They're just an absolutely ridiculously strong defense when it comes to the run. Now, some people are going to say, well, David, that's a problem for the Lions because the Lions, they have said time and time again, the run is an important part of their offense. And that is certainly true. But there is a slight caveat to that. While the run game is important to them, it is important to us, the Lions know how to get that run game working for them in a multitude of ways. And on top of that, if for some reason they can't, it doesn't completely shut down their offense's ability to score. It does not shut down their offense's ability to produce. The reason why I say that even though the Browns' rush defense is so strong that it's going to pose a bit of a problem, it's not going to be a death knell. And the reason why is because as good as the Browns have been against the run, they have also been just as bad against the pass. Now, understand how I put this. I'm not saying that the Browns have given up a crap ton of yards through the air. I'm not saying that the Browns are just absolutely getting decimated by quarterbacks throwing bombs on them all day long. But where the Browns have failed in terms of, their defense's ability to stop the pass is in the fact that the Browns are constantly getting, I wouldn't say dink and dunked, but they're getting out-efficiencyed, if that's even a term, if you will, when it comes to the passing attack. Because let me put something out there for you. If you take a look at the last 3 games that the Browns have faced, they've played against the Bengals, they played against the Ravens, and they've played against the Packers. In those 3 games against the 3 quarterbacks, which is Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Jordan Love, 3 pretty damn good quarterbacks. This is what the Browns have given up when they face those quarterbacks in terms of just the passing numbers. The Browns have given up 55 completions to 77 attempts for a 71.4 completion percentage rate, 521 passing yards for 6.8 an average a throw, 6 passing touchdowns to 1 interception for 110.4 passer rating. Let's just call it for what it is there. Yes, having the low passing yards, that is good. But what is not good is the fact that they've given up 6 touchdowns to 1 interception, they've given up a 110-plus passer rating, and they've given up a 70-plus completion percentage rate. The reason why that's not good is because if there's one thing Lions fans in the NFL ought to damn well know by now about Jared Goff and this offense is that they are probably the most efficient passing attack in the NFL. Jared Goff has completed over 70% of his throws over the last 3 games. Number 1. Number 2, Jared Goff has a 7-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. Number 3, Jared Goff's passer rating right now is the 2nd best in the NFL. So you're talking about a quarterback and an offense that is extremely efficient, extremely proficient at throwing the ball. Now, I'm going to say this right now. Most people are wanting me to move past the Ravens game, and they want me to move past the Ravens altogether because we've already beaten them. But where the cheat sheet for the Lions offense comes into play is you have to go back and you have to take a look at how the Browns were against the Ravens in their game. Because that game, I believe, 100% holds the key as to what the Lions are going to have to do for this game against the Browns. When you take a look at that game, what did the Browns absolutely try to do against the Ravens. They absolutely sold out 110% to try and shut down the running game. They did not want Lamar Jackson to get loose. They did not want Derrick Henry to get loose, which, mission accomplished. They absolutely did that. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry had less rushing yards combined together than they had against us. But the problem is that when they sold out to try and stop the run, they allowed the Ravens and Lamar Jackson to absolutely dice them up like a turkey in the passing game. In that game, Lamar Jackson had 4 passing touchdowns. And here's the funny part about this. It's not just because Lamar Jackson was able to just drop back and just do whatever he wanted. You want to know where half of those passing touchdowns came from? They came off of play action designs. If you go back to that game and you take a look at just before they went into the second half and when they went into the second half itself, so like literally just before halftime and then coming out of halftime, that's when Lamar Jackson got those 4 passing touchdowns. 2 of those 4 passing touchdowns came off of play action designs. I've said it before. What is the one thing that Jared Goff is better than any other quarterback in the NFL, and it's not even close? It's play action. And think about it. I just literally stated this. In the game against the Ravens, the Browns had completely shut down the Ravens' ability to run the ball because they had sold out to make sure that, hey, we're not going to let Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson literally run all over us. Well, here's the thing. When they did that, they completely opened up their secondary to be made vulnerable to the passing attack, especially the play action. Because anytime they saw that it was going to be a run, they instantaneously bit down hard to make sure those running gaps and those rushing lanes were completely filled and Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson couldn't go anywhere. Well, think about this. The same concept applies when they're going to go up against the Lions. Because who are they not going to want to absolutely get going? They do not want David Montgomery, and they do not want Jahmyr Gibbs getting going. So what does that mean? They're going to most likely want to sell out for the run again, because if you wanted to stop Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry the way you did, you're going to have to do the exact same damn thing that you did there to try and stop David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Well, if you do that, now you've given Jared Goff the perfect key to take advantage of play action passing because, hey, you are so focused on trying to stop the run that as soon as you think you see a run, now all these wide receivers and tight ends are going to be absolutely wide open in the secondary. That's my whole point here. If the Browns literally try to stop us by making sure that Montgomery and freaking Gibbs can't get going, they're going to leave open a whole bunch of opportunity for us to absolutely throw the ball off of play action in their secondary. And that's exactly what happened when they played against the Ravens. Because if you go back and like I said, you watch that game, Lamar Jackson absolutely carved them up when it came to the play action designs. And for the Lions, having a quarterback like Jared Goff, who absolutely is the best at what he does when it comes to play action, this is what it means. It not only means that those regular play action throws are going to be open, but it also means that you're going to have plenty of opportunity for deep shots, especially when you consider the fact of who the Lions have as receivers. We have Amon-Ra St. Brown. We have J-Mo. We have Isaac Tesla. We have Sam Laporta. And even if you try to stop Gibbs and Monty from trying to be runners, they can get out of the backfield and they can still do damage that way. Especially if they're on the field together at the same time. Because, let me show you something here, folks. If you take a look at Jared Goff's play action stats with the Lions just so far for this year, again, you're going to see how Jared Goff absolutely has continued to be one of, if not the best play action passer in the NFL. So far through 3 weeks, Jared Goff has completed 25 of 31 throws for 80.6 completion percentage rate. That's 4th best in the NFL. 331 yards, 4th best in the NFL. 10.7 an average a throw, 5th best in the NFL. He has 2 passing touchdowns off of play action, which is tied 6th. 6.5 touchdown percentage rate per throw. No interceptions, which also means no interception percentage rate per throw. And a 132.7 passer rating, which is 4th best. That right there ought to tell you exactly everything you need to know about the Lions if they see the Browns absolutely try to sell out against the run. Because they've already seen what they try to do when they played against the Ravens literally 2 weeks prior. And the reason why that is so crucial is that, think about this. The Ravens are known more for their ability to run the football than they are to throw the football. That's not the case for the Lions. The Lions are known in equal measure for being both a great passing offense and a great rushing offense. Well, where they're great in their passing offense, other than just straight drop-back passing, is their play action. Because they run play action so often, so proficiently, that it's part of their bread and butter. The Ravens are not known for that. The Ravens can do play action, certainly, but it's not something that is a crucial part of their identity or makeup. The Lions are. So think about that. If the Lions have to revert to their play action passing, either just on, straight whatever, or if they do happen to get the run game going a little bit, because I will say this, I think that the Browns have not yet faced a rushing scheme or a rushing attack like the Lions just yet. Oh, sure, you can say what you want about Derrick Henry and Lamar and the Ravens, but let's understand something here. Our guys move guys up front. Plus, on top of that, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, there's a reason why they're called Sonic and Knuckles. They're just a completely different breed compared to other, NFL running backs and NFL team duos. So to me, the cheat sheet is relatively simple. Hey, if the Browns are going to try and sell out for the run, just dice them up with the play action. And as soon as they start getting savvy to hold all that, then you can go back to the running game, because now it's like, hey, now they're so focused on stopping the play action from working, they're now going to stop creeping, they're going to stop, creeping up to stop the run, they're going to start falling back a little bit. Well, once they start doing that, now you can start engaging the run again. It literally is a pendulum that swings back and forth, and that's what I was referring to earlier in the episode with how the Lions, they are extremely flexible in realizing that, hey, if something's not working right now, that doesn't mean we can't come back to it later. It just means we have to do something else to set it up for something later. That's why, for me, if the Lions adhere to how the Ravens played their offensive strategy against the Browns in Week 2, we should be fine. Because let me also put this out there for you, folks. If I'm understanding this correctly, the Browns, when they played against the Ravens, if I recall correctly, I could be wrong, but I think the Browns were on the road in that game. They were at the Ravens' home stadium. Well, think about this. The Browns are going to be at the Lions' home stadium, and Ford Field is probably about as inhospitable of a location for a team to come into. It's loud, it's raucous, and on top of that, teams have a hard time when it comes to playing against us there, because they know that they're going to be coming into a very, very hostile environment where they're not going to be able to hear much for anything. That also is an advantage for the Lions. Now, I will say this. The one slight caveat that the Browns defense does have in this regard is who their defensive coordinator is, which is our former head coach, Jim Schwartz. He was the head coach here in Detroit for 6 years, if I recall correctly. He knows everything there is to know about Ford Field. He's definitely going to have those guys much better prepared for the noise and for the crowd than most other teams will. But again, the difference is that Jim Schwartz did not have to go up against a quarterback like Jared Goff most of the time. He has not had to go up against running backs like David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs all the time. He certainly has not had to go up against the receiving options that we have with Laporta, with freaking St. Brown, with J-Mo, with Isaac Tesla. That is a whole myriad of weapons that for any defense, no matter how great, it's going to be hard to try and stop. And when you consider the fact that the Lions, like I just said, they have a cheat sheet based off of what the Ravens were able to do and do successfully against them only 2 weeks prior, that gives the Lions an immense advantage going into this game on Sunday. That's my whole point here. It's like, listen, don't overthink it. Keep it simple. Because again, if the Browns try to take away something from you, just go to the opposite end of that, and then you can come back to it later. Whether it means, hey, you know what? If they're going to try and take away the run to start off the game, okay, we're going to go with play action. And eventually, the play action is going to allow you to come back around and start getting the running game going, and then you're off to the races like you normally would. Now, I will say this really quickly. All of this is contingent upon our offensive line being able to continue to block well, which over the last two games, they have been exemplary up front in making sure that those offensive lanes are open not only for the running game, but that Goff has plenty of time in the pocket. That's going to have to continue against the Browns, especially when we're facing Myles Garrett. But I have confidence that we can handle it because, oh, that's right, both Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker were the best rated tackles by PFF in last week's game against the Ravens. So they will have to do so again, but I am confident in their ability to do so. But all I'm simply trying to say here is this. The Lions already have a cheat sheet that will let them have success because they've already seen what another team has tried to do when they've gone up against the same team that literally tried to take away their best option, which is the running game. Well, once they did that, the Ravens, they switched tactics, they switched gears, and then they were off to the races, which was part of the reason why the Ravens were able to win 41-17. I'm not saying that's going to be the same outcome in terms of the point factoring with the Browns for this game, but if the Lions come down to that same similar pattern, it could be a similar outcome. I'm just saying. But anyway, folks, I just wanted to put this episode out there because I know a lot of people are concerned about the Browns defense. They're trying to figure out what's the best way to attack them, what's the best way to get a win against them. This is what I think is the best way to do so. So, having said that, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage you all to watch the next episode. Also encourage you all to do one of these three things: like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and you've not yet had a chance to do so, please, by all means, make sure you hit that bell notification icon so you guys never miss any more content that I push out. I hope you all got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.